This is Grandmaster Cemilcan Ali Marandi from GM Cemilcan Chess Channel, and today I would like to analyze the first victory of Daniil Dubov on day number 3, the final day of the Lindores Abbey Rapid Challenge, which was concluded today with Dubov's victory. I would like to analyze all the decisive games in separate formats and do my best to try to explain you how the players were playing and how did Dubov manage to win this big tournament. So let's get started with the game. The game started with the Sicilian opening and the Dragon variation. Dragon is not very well known to be played at the top level. The reason is that it's a very sharp opening, and Black does have a lot of risky moments, I should say, in the theoretical debates, but Dubov is definitely prepared, and he was ready for the fight, as he did show by winning the match. So bishop e3, knight f6, bishop c4, castles, bishop b3. So far, everything is known. Everything is theory, and here Dubov plays this move rook e8, and this is also theory, but it's not the main move. After I looked up in my database, I did see that Dubov himself has played quite a few games with the black pieces, and this is probably his favorite line, and there's definitely a reason behind it. The most popular moves instead of rook e8 are simply to go d6, or even moves like a5. It was played in the past before, maybe with potential idea to go a4, since white generally castles long in the Sicilian Dragon. So rook e8 has its own ideas, and the most common reply in this position is either f3 or short castles. But here Hikaru just decides to play knight takes c6, which is not really the main idea of the opening, because after d takes c6, Black does have a very comfortable path to develop his light squared bishop, and he has absolutely no reason to be worried about. Obviously, probably Hikaru was aware of this and probably did analyze it, but we have no idea if that's the case. So after h3, queen c7, and there are already not that many games. Actually, I think I found only one game in my database which continued with the move a4. But Hikaru decides to play f4. Dubov replies b5, e5, and b4. So he is counterattacking the knight on c3. And if you take on f6, his idea is simply to take e takes f6, and Black is attacking two pieces at the same time, and he has a great position. This might have been a prep, or this might just have been one of the ideas Dubov had at his disposal, and now we can easily see why the idea of rook e8 was played in move 8. So knight a4, knight d5, and here basically Black is offering a pawn, but if you take such pawns like this is very risky because white has not finished his development just yet. And after a move like bishop b7, Black gets a monstrous bishop, probably going to play rook e d8 or rook a c8 or rook a d8 in the next few moves and try to get a very quick counterplay. Even potential ideas like queen c6 hitting the knight and then hitting the pawn on g2. Everything is bad for white in this position, so Black is definitely in the driver's seat. Queen f3, knight e3, queen e3. So in this position, Black does have the bishop pair, and we hear a lot of this, and since I'm a grandmaster, and it's a well-known fact that grandmasters love their bishop pair, but not in every single position, obviously, because if the position is closed like this one, especially this one where the bishop on b2 is really not that great because of the pawns on f4 and e5, and it's not really doing much. And this is a position where I would say the bishop pair is not very effective. But here, Dubov plays this move a5, which I'm not sure that it's very good. It's actually a dubious move. I would not have played this move personally because I really think that white wants to long castle here. So I think the main intuition should be rook d8 and prevent white from castling. Instead, Dubov goes a5, and after long castles, he goes queen a7, which is actually quite surprising because I feel like his bishop on g7 is not doing much, and he wants to go for an endgame. Hikaru plays queen e4 here, but I think the better approach would have been just to take on a7 and go knight c5, with the idea to follow up with rook he1 and have a better position, very comfortable endgame, probably very close to impossible for Black to win this. But instead, Hikaru plays this move queen e4, hoping that he can take this pawn at some point on c6, but Dubov just doesn't care. Because bishop pair is all about initiative, it's about open files, it's all about open diagonals. So he does want to get a open position for his pieces. Queen c4 was played, but if queen takes c6, for example, happened, black could have simply played queen e3 check, king d1, and queen takes f4, where you see a bunch of arrows on the screen now, but the ideas are very simple. Black wants to go rook a c8, attack the c2 pawn, e5 pawn is very loose now because the f pawn has disappeared, and now black actually has a lot of initiative. So that's why queen c4 is still protecting the pawn, and queen e3 check was played, king b1, bishop e6, queen d4, queen takes d4, rook takes d4, and rook d8. So the whole idea is that white did trade the queens eventually, but white did trade the queens, but black is trying to fight for the d file. I'm not very sure that this is the best decision which black could have done, but it is still not so bad yet. Rook h d1, rook d4, rook d4, and here Dubov plays this move bishop c8. Because he doesn't want to trade the bishops. If you trade the bishops when you have the bishop pair, now this is actually going to be a problem, because the bishop on g7 will never come back to life. Even if you try to play a move like g5, white can simply play g3 and be fine. So that's why black wants to keep the bishop as much as he can. And after knight b6, he goes c5. And at this position, Hikaru makes a mistake. It actually doesn't look like a mistake, but it was not the best. It's not the most accurate way of punishing black's play. Because what black is trying to do is he's trying to activate his bishops. And of course, if you give him a chance to, he'll definitely do it. So he plays rook d2, and after g5, black does manage to solve his problems of locked down bishops by approaching the pawn chain, which supports each other, and hitting the pawn chain's base, I should say, with the move g5. And this allows the bishops to be active in the next few moves. What was the correct move? Well, it was rook c4. Rook c4 attacks the pawn on c5 and asks black, what are you going to do? And after g5, I can simply take on c5, hit the bishop on c8, and after a move like bishop d7, I can even defend my pawn with g3 if I really feel like it. It's probably not even necessary. Moves like bishop d5 come into play, because if I simply take with the bishop, after a move like knight takes d5, g takes f4, knight takes f4, my rook on c5 is defending my pawn, and it's also attacking the opponent's pawn. So, and in this position, probably white is the only one who can win. And I would expect white to win with big practical chances. So rook d2, g5, and now rook d5. And it's kind of slow because he could have attacked or actually picked up the pawn with rook c4, rook c5. And instead he just wasted like 2 moves. And after gf4, rook c5, f3, very strong move. In fact, this is probably the move maybe Hikaru missed. Because in this position, if you take the bishop, I don't even care about taking your rook back. I take on g2 first. And if you take my rook with check, I go bishop f8. And after I promote to a queen, I'm threatening checkmate. Even if it's not checkmate, I'm going to pick up your knight next move. And the game is going to be over. And after this, basically the bishop pair actually showed its dominance, because the h-pawn is completely a passed pawn. And the position is almost winning, but of course there are technical problems which Dubov managed to overcome. Rook d8, improving the rook, threatening checkmate. a4, he takes it, and now he slowly manages to push his pawn. Obviously, there are a lot of things which have happened differently, but in this position, Dubov, I think, found a nice way of successfully pushing his pawn down the board and promoting it eventually, and winning the game 2 of the 4-game match against Hikaru. So I'm just going to run it down, and after all these moves happen, the bishops are absolutely monstrous now. This bishop controls the whole diagonal, and same goes for the other one. There's absolutely no way that this a-pawn is going to promote. So please comment down below what do you think about the match, and I'll be doing the second part, the game where Hikaru won and managed to come back. So make sure you check out that video, because everything's going to be uploaded back to back, and I'm going to link it to you guys, and I'm pretty sure you'll be having a lot of fun seeing how Hikaru won that game. And last but not least, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hope to see you more in this channel. Hopefully you'll enjoy the content, and you're always welcome on my Twitch channel, which I'll be leaving it down in the description below. Alright, let's move on to the next game.